Hey, it's me, the guy, streaming Conure once again. Before we get into the video, I just wanted to let you guys know that we are roughly 150 subs away from 1,000. When we get there, I'll be doing a prepared Q&A video, answering literally whatever questions you want me to. Follow my Twitter at CondureCC for updates. All right, so previously we touched on how Elizabeth Warren's foreign policy is pretty shaky at best, especially compared to a candidate like Bernie Sanders or previously Mike Gravel. So to kind of piggyback off that as well, according to a Jacobin article by Michael Brooks and Ben Burgess, quote, in June, Bernie Sanders called for former Brazilian President Lula da Silva to be released from prison. In a statement provided to The Intercept, Bernie said, today it is clearer than ever that Lula da Silva was imprisoned in a politicized prosecution that denied him a fair trial and due process. During his presidency, Lula oversaw huge reductions in poverty and remains Brazil's most popular politician. I stand with political and social leaders across the globe who are calling on Brazil's judiciary to release Lula and annul his conviction. Now, I know you agree with this, but just to carry on, the Jacobin article goes on to say, quote, 4 months and multiple Democratic debates later, none of the other candidates have followed his lead. That's a travesty. Not only is Lula a political prisoner by any reasonable definition, but he's a figure who should be celebrated by anyone who wants to defeat the global forces of right-wing populism. Don't forget to check out my 30-minute breakdown of these events. The link will be in the description, or if you're watching live, just hit up the YouTube channel, add that to your watch later. So, Noam Chomsky has called Lula the most prominent political prisoner of the modern day, and I've made the case several times that if he was never thrown in prison on the flimsiest of evidence, the Amazon rainforest and indigenous Brazilians would not be under the threat of decimation like they are now at the hands of goblin fascist Jair Bolsonaro. So, Dylan, I assume...
Are you telling me that the Krasenstein brothers are not worse political prisoners in Twitter jail? How dare you? But nah, yeah. Continue. Sorry, I didn't be snarky.
So, I assume you're pretty shocked that a successful left-wing government was interrupted, let's say, by a corrupt prosecution which supported a right-wing government's rise to power. I'd like you to give us your take on Brazil, Lava Jato, and Lula da Silva, but first, I want to watch a very short clip from one of the intellectuals of the IDW, Dave Rubin.
Opinion on Brazilian Prime Minister Bolsonaro regarding there's a lot of things moving here. Deforestation of the rainforest. P.S. I'm a Christian. I'd bake you a cake, though. I don't know enough about him, but it sounds like he really hates Marxism, and he's really pushing Brazil to become more of a world leader, and that he actually is for capitalism, and he's trying to get some of the SJW stuff out of the schools. I just saw a tweet by him a day or two ago. So on that front, and I don't know a ton about him, that all sounds good to me. And as a Christian, I appreciate your offer to bake me a cake. That would be very nice of you. Thank you very much.
On top of getting the SGW stuff out of the schools, he also getting the indigenous people out of the forests.
True.
So, yeah, yikes.
Truly not the best look. I like how he says, I don't know much about him, and then continues to tacitly endorse him.
Name wrong.
That's how you're many Portuguese many Portuguese-speaking people have told me it's actually pronounced Bolsonaro. Okay, Bolsonaro. So
Bolsonaro.
Yeah. So please, I'm
sure Dave Rubin was there thinking about the in-depth Portuguese pronunciation the whole time. I'm sure.
And so all of this really is not that surprising. But what is your take on the political imprisonment of Lula da Silva and what's happened in Brazil?
I mean, it's very obvious why they want Lula gone is because he challenged the people who controlled capital. He challenged the political establishment in Brazil. He challenged the international political establishment, and he did it, and he stayed popular, and he has always done this, even during the time of the dictatorship when he stood with striking workers. I mean, before he went to prison, the last thing he did was meet with that same union. His career has been one of...
They literally carried him on their backs to where he would then be taken away to his imprisonment or wherever he was going to be.
He is a martyr. All they've done is create a martyr. When he gets out of prison, because it's Lula da Silva, man, he's gonna go crazy. He's gonna get out of there, man. He's Lula da Silva. When he does, dude, he's political gold until he dies. He's gonna be like Mugabe, but good and not going to ever die.
We can only hope, really. Just put him.
He's gonna be like Bernie with his stents. Once they like do a little surgery on him, he's gonna be like Lula the Mech, and he's just gonna be like leader of Brazil till like 2040, 50, 60, 70.
I do definitely think. I think there was actually a quote from him. I wish I still had it, where he talked about how basically he was going to be doing politics like harder than ever. I'm paraphrasing it incredibly so, but something along the lines of he's just going to be out there even stronger than before, which is
Could you
incredible.
imagine Jeremy Corbyn, Bernie Sanders, Lula da Silva, the end of neoliberalism in Chile, the success of Haitian protesters, the success of Iraqi protests, Hong Kong win, all this happening at the same time? Could you imagine? Ah, gosh. Oh, boy.
If only we could be so lucky.
Only if.
Hopefully one day. I'm pretty sure a President Bernie Sanders, if Lula's not out yet, would definitely try to pressure to get him out of there. I would hope anyway.
He would personally go there.
Break him out himself. He would run across like he did that airport. He would just run across, grab the keys, unlock it.
I could see him
get
doing
him out
the
of
same
there.
like jog and like just all like bullets whizzing past his head as he just does that same jog.
But yeah, so none of that is all too surprising. The U.S. has been interfering in Latin American elections or straight up installing dictators for an incredibly long time. So brief detour as one example. In my father's home country, Honduras, in 2009, democratically elected and popular President Manuel Zelaya was yeeted out of the country at gunpoint by military officers that were trained in the U.S. School of the Americas, now Western Hemisphere Institute for Security Cooperation, and certain politicians in the U.S. were hesitant to condemn the coup government that took power. Then U.S. President Barack Obama declared that the coup was not legal and that Zelaya remained the legitimate president of Honduras, stating, quote, "It would be a terrible precedent if we start moving backwards into the era in which we are seeing military coups as a means of political transition rather than democratic elections." However, in contrast to this, The Intercept reported that Southcom, one of the 10 commands of the U.S. Department of Defense, specifically the one responsible for Central and South America, had assessed that the coup government could prevail in elections merely by holding out until the ballots were cast. Quote, "To defeat Zelaya, the de facto government needs only to endure until new elections occur." Coincidentally, then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, in her 2014 memoir Hard Choices, wrote that the State Department could, quote, wrote that the State Department, quote, "strategized on a plan to restore order in Honduras and ensure that free and fair elections could be held quickly and legitimately, which would render the question of Zelaya moot," giving the impression that the State Department was negotiating in the interest of the people who violated the Constitution and deposed President Manuel Zelaya. Funnily enough, that passage from Hard Choices was removed in the paperback version that was released only a year later. So check out my hour-long deep dive into the events. Link will be in the description. Do you have anything in particular to add on the Honduras subject or just Latin American foreign policy in general?
I mean, this is not a new thing. This is nothing surprising. I mean, I guess it's weird to see it in color instead of in black and white. This type of Banana Republic stuff being developed, but it just feels weird hearing it from modern leaders. Basically, just watching the development of modern banana republics. But I mean, the resources might change from bananas to copper to whatever, but the same fundamental interest lies. I believe in this instance, what was really of importance to American strategic interests was an airport, if I'm correct.
Yeah, it's Sotocano Military Air Base.
Yeah. So I mean, that is definitely something you don't want to challenge America. Was our military bases. I mean, we are currently conducting a shadow war in Africa. We have tons and tons and tons and tons of military bases in Africa. So when people talk about, like, for instance, Chinese power confronting American power or something like that, they can maybe confront us in soft power, but they can't even get near us on hard power. They have one base in Africa. It's in Djibouti. We have hundreds.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even close.
Hundreds, yeah. It's quite ridiculous. I don't know, man. It's
actually, wait, I read a few stories that China might have a few other bases overseas. Hey, if they hit 10, maybe they'll be able to invade Kansas.
For sure. Listen, I'm okay with the demolition of the Amazon rainforest as long as Brazilians can say gamer words on the internet without getting canceled. Also, real quickly, while prepping for this segment, I was thinking, does Fernando Collor de Mello kind of look a little bit like a young Kyle Kalinske? Is it just me? Maybe I'm just talking shit. In late August, 1 month before the first round of voting, Lula led with 39% of vote intentions and beat Bolsonaro 52-32 in a second round runoff poll. Should he been able to continue to run for president, he would have absolutely embarrassed Bolsonaro while being excommunicated in his fucking jail cell. It's not even close. When capital perceives itself to be under threat by even moderate social democracy, it will break fascists to cover its own ass, taking centrists and elites with it. This is what history has taught us time and again, and if you don't realize that, you're not helping anybody. The next time we're in a position to start making real structural changes, like, I don't know, if the US helps a certain independent senator become president, we have to take it seriously. Thanks so much for watching this segment from episode 3 of the Conure Report. This episode's Conure call-out is Pope Jupiter. Appreciate the support. Hope you enjoyed the tier 1 sub to my Twitch channel. If you'd like to be the next Conure call-out, follow my Twitter at ConureCC and retweet my video links when they go live. To the right of me is the link to subscribe to the channel, and to the right of that is even more content for you to consume. Love y'all very much. I think that was the one.